and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2023-24 season. My name is Dan and it's time for the Gameweek 6 episode of Buy, Sell, Keep, Avoid, the video series where we look at the biggest transfer trends and try and work out which are the right ones and the wrong ones to jump in on. So guys, if you enjoyed this one, drop a like, do subscribe. Let's have a look at how this series works. So buys are players you probably don't have but should consider bringing in. Sells are players that you probably have but should consider removing. Keeps are players you might be thinking of removing but I think you should keep them. And avoids are players that are pretty hyped up right now. A lot of people buying them, but I do think they are potential traps that maybe you should avoid them. We're going to have 4 in each category, but first a quick look at our scores from last week. I've been dreading this, guys. Please be kind. Yeah, it was a bad week. It was a really bad week in FPL in general. All of the players with the highest odds of doing well did pretty poorly. The AI got it completely wrong. I'm not going to lie to you as well. Everything just went to pot. In terms of an FPL week, I can't remember seeing a less predictable one. It's been so unpredictable. Even the number 1 player from last season only scored 35 points last game week as well. So yeah, it's no surprise that I didn't get that many right, but I feel like I could have done better than this. I mean, come on, guys. Maybe I should have gone for Alvarez instead of Jesus. I very nearly put him in as the buy because he is obviously a player I've been recommending all of last week. And I should have put him in the buy section in this video. Don't know why I didn't. And Gusto, of course, there. Maybe I could have waited a little while before committing to saying Gusto as an avoid, because I did think at that point when I recorded that Reece James was going to be back for that game week, but then we got the news later on in the week, and I went for Ward-Prowse for some reason instead of Bowen. Why did I do that? Ward-Prowse can score in any game week. Bowen is the player I really thought would blank, but Ward-Prowse was a more popular transfer in, so I thought I'd try and sneak him in to the avoid section as well, and that clearly has not gone too well. So yeah, I've also, all of the 4-pointers, I've put them down as an L for myself. I'm not going to give myself the 4-pointers, even though it's not a huge amount of points. In game week 5, 4 points was a lot. So look, I'm going to make as many excuses as I like. It was a bad game week for me. It was a bad game week for a lot of people. But yeah, we'll try and do better this week. And I'm going to really make sure I really try hard. Done a lot of research for this one because I do not want to get these wrong. Okay, yeah, leave your banter in the comments, guys. But let's start off with some buys here. We're going to go for Leno again. I still think he is probably the goalkeeper pick to go for at this present moment. His great fixtures are running out, though. We've got Crystal Palace next, though. That should be a good opportunity for clean sheets. But, of course, with Leno, we're really looking for those save points. 24 saves so far this season is very nice indeed. And maybe Fulham's defence are a little bit underrated. They have had some tough fixtures and they have had some players missing. Maybe this will get better for them. I guess it remains to be seen. But Leno, you definitely can't go wrong. You're going to get save points at the very least. And as for our defensive buy, I could have put any Newcastle defender in here. I could have put Trippier in here. I could have put Share in here. But I've gone for Botman because I feel like he is the player that everyone could afford. You know, that no matter who you have in your defence right now, you can probably very easily afford to switch a current defender to Botman. There's no excuse to not go for him. But I do want to say, I do think that Share and Trippier will probably score more than Botman. But in terms of price, the more you pay, the more you're going to get from your FPL defender from Newcastle. But if you're just trying to go cheap, Botman is definitely a great way to get involved in the Newcastle defence. They've got great defensive numbers, despite some terrible fixtures, and now they've got some amazing fixtures where we really expect them to keep some clean sheets. So clean sheets, potential bonus points on the cards as well if the scores are low. We saw that with Botman last game week in the 1-0 victory. Bonus points for him. Let's see how he gets on going forward. I think there is very few excuses to not go for Botman this week. And Mbumo is going to be our midfielder by Everton up next. So the fixtures are starting to look really good again for Brentford. We had that minor blip in fixture difficulty in that Newcastle game last week. We all kind of acknowledged that maybe that was not the week to buy Mbumo if you don't have him already. But now, again, not really an excuse not to buy Mbumo. I would say if you are thinking about removing a midfielder this week, Mbumo would be the guy I would replace him with. And if I'm honest, there's not really too many midfielders I would move towards this game week, but Mbumo definitely is top of the pile. A lot of the other ones are kind of optional. I'm not really sure they'll necessarily improve your team if you do have kind of the template midfielders right now, like Rashford, Bruno, Sterling, those kind of players, Son, Maddison, whatever. If you've got those guys already, I would probably keep them unless you're going for someone like Mbumo, who I do think is a really nice pick there. So good numbers, good fixtures. Everything's looking very nice for Mbumo. So yeah, looking forward to seeing what he can produce in the future game weeks. And you've got penalties as well, which is always nice for Brentford. Julian Alvarez, I am going to go for him this week. You know, I backed him enough. So why didn't I put him in buy, sell, keep, avoid last week? Well, I didn't. Well, this week, I'm going to try and rectify that. Obviously, he is a player who has been overperforming a little bit, and I do want to make note of that. He is getting far more assists than his underlying numbers suggest, but because he's playing with a top quality finisher like Erling Haaland, that is going to help him to overperform on his numbers there just a little bit at least. So I do expect Alvarez to continue to score well as long as he remains undroppable, in the words of Pep Guardiola. However, if he's not scoring mega points every week, don't be totally surprised. At the end of the day, he's a 6.8 million forward. You're not going to get amazing points from him every single game week, but he's still a really, really good pick that should make that price look pretty ridiculous. You know, he's going to be really, really good value for money at 6.8 million. I like him as the forward pick. If you're looking for a new forward, he would be the guy I would go for. Onto some sells. We've got Ramsdale first of all. Yeah, after he's missed that last game, you know, he's been rotated or rested or maybe even dropped. We don't know for sure what the situation is there, but Raya started the last game for Arsenal, and that is a very, very bad sign. In general, I would say that from here on out, Ramsdale is going to be rotation risk. Often you wait for that first time where the player's been dropped to actually get the concrete sign that your goalkeeper's rotation risk. We're going to probably see the same with Johnston and Turner in the upcoming game weeks, but we have got that confirmation now with Ramsdale that he's not going to be playing every single game. When we've got these fixtures as well, the likes of Spurs and Man City in the next 3, even more reasons to sell Ramsdale. So if I had him right now in my team, he would be a player I'd be looking to sell. He's not been performing particularly well anyway. Low saves there, unfortunately, for him, and slightly underperforming on his expected goals conceded. Chilwell, I think, is a pretty easy sell as well, but I don't think it's a priority move necessarily. I think if you need a new defender in your team and, you know, you've got Chilwell and not really too many other problems in your team, you could definitely sell him. I wouldn't say this is super high priority. I don't think he's necessarily been dropped permanently. Last game, we obviously saw him rotated for tactical reasons. Is that going to continue? Not necessarily, but is that going to happen occasionally? Yes. It's disappointing. We really thought Chilwell would be the chosen one. Had a really promising start to the season, but he's kind of dropped off since then, and it has kind of culminated in him being rotated in that game week 5. So disappointing from Chilwell there. The yellow card and 0-pointer topped off a pretty stinky game week, to be honest, for the Chelsea assets. So, yeah, Chilwell, I think he is a player you can afford to sell if you need to. Rodrigo is the other player I would sell here. I'm going to go for Rodrigo as the midfielder sell, just because, honestly, out of the midfielders, I don't think too many are must-sells. You know, we will go to the keep section in a second, but you know, if you've got Saka or Rashford or Bruno Fernandes or Foden or Son or Maddison, all of these guys, you're probably thinking, oh, maybe I could sell them, but I would not say any of them are must-sells. Whereas Rodrigo, once again, we have seen him not score FPL points, which is kind of more in line of what we expect from Rodrigo. His numbers aren't actually terrible, but he did get a lot of them in that opening fixture. And from here on, I wouldn't expect him to necessarily score a whole lot of points. I think you can maybe find better value in like maybe a James Ward-Prowse at a similar price to him. So Rodrigo would be a player I would sell and move on if I didn't have him already. There's lots of midfielders to pick from right now, and Rodrigo would not be one I'd be willing to keep moving forward. We have got Nicholas Jackson here as well as a sell. He's just been really, really disappointing, and the underlying numbers have been amazing, but we are seeing that he is a player low on confidence. He's not finishing his chances, and even in that last game against Bournemouth, where we all expected, okay, this is his chance, this could even be his last chance for us, he didn't perform in that game either, and he didn't even have a lot of chances to score in that game either, which was, you know, so even his underlying numbers weren't great in that game either. So it's a really difficult one if you are a Jackson owner. His numbers we know are good, but he's not performing. Chelsea are not performing in general as well. Chelsea are probably a team we might want to move away from, and in a mediocre fixture like Aston Villa, I would say this game week is a much easier week to sell Jackson than after that against Fulham and Burnley. That's going to be much harder to sell Jackson for those fixtures. But right now, you could maybe say, okay, we're probably going to sell these Chelsea players in at least a few weeks anyway. Maybe we can hop off him now, move to someone like Alvarez or, you know, maybe Ferguson if you want something a little bit differential there. And there's a few other forwards that you might fancy as well, Edouard, for example, and free up a little bit of cash that way. But yeah, Jackson would be a player I would be quite possibly looking to move on if I owned him. Onto some keeps. Edison, I would keep. We're probably expecting him throughout this season to get a clean sheet every other game, and in fixtures like Nottingham Forest and Wolves, that's probably going to happen. So yeah, Edison, he hasn't been playing badly. He's been making saves. He's been overperforming his expected goals conceded, which is good. Sign of a good goalkeeper, which is what we like. He's kind of slightly underperforming on his actual clean sheets, so maybe going forward we might expect a few more clean sheets from him, but not really been his fault. He has been making saves. It's maybe been a little bit unfortunate to not score more FPL points than he has done already, but a nailed on Man City defender, best defense in the league. I don't think there's too much value elsewhere, and I wouldn't say he is worth a transfer out, of course, unless you're on a wild card, which is just a totally different scenario. Switch up your goalkeeper if you're on a wild card, but if I had Edison, I don't think there's any harm in really keeping him for these next couple of fixtures. And we've got Purvis Stupinian here as well. He was not dropped. He's not injured. There's no problem there as far as we know right now. Just because of international duty, he was very, very late back to the UK and returning from international duty. Unfortunately for him, because of the South American games, they do go on late into the week, very, very close to the return of the Premier League, which is why we saw players like Darwin Nunez, Luis Diaz, those kind of players were on the bench as well. So yeah, because of that, Stupinian is going to be a player who should be fine. Absolutely great to come back straight into the team against this really nice fixture at home to Bournemouth. So he should be back to his best there, getting goals, getting assists, doing his great attacking business. Never fully confident in a Brighton clean sheet, but against Bournemouth, you never know. That could actually happen there as well. So Stupinian, I would definitely be looking to keep him. And I know a lot of people will be going on Tariq Lamptey right now, so I'll throw this one in here as well. When Stupinian comes back, Tariq Lamptey goes back to the bench. So don't expect too much from Lamptey going forward. I would just stick with a Stupinian if you want that Brighton defender in your team. Marcus Rashford, I would keep. I thought he had a pretty promising game against Brighton. Unlucky not to get an assist in that game. And some people have been saying he's been a little bit selfish in these Manchester United games. But I do think that is in some ways a good thing. Like, typically in FPL, we want those players who do shoot on sight. Those players who are willing to try and, well, he doesn't know about it, obviously, but he's getting the FPL points for himself, or trying to get the FPL points for himself. I don't mind that, to be honest. That's fine by me. I don't care if Manchester United perform, as long as Rashford's getting on the scoreboard. And fair enough, he didn't last game week. He was close to, but the previous 2 game weeks before that, he got a goal and 2 assists. Had a marginal assist ruled out in last game week. It's actually not looking so bad for him, and he's playing well as well, and I really fancy him against Burnley. I think this is a really nice fixture for him, allowing him to counter-attack behind the high Burnley line. So I really like Rashford for this week, and I definitely would not be looking to sell him at all. I feel like he is a real priority keep, and I feel like anyone selling Rashford could get stung by him. I think Bruno Fernandes is slightly different. I'd be more willing to sell Bruno at this point, particularly for this fixture, but Rashford alongside Højlund, I feel like things should start to improve. They really should, and arguably they already have. I thought he played well last game week. I thought he looked dangerous, which is definitely good. One more fact about Rashford before we move on. 23 shots so far this season. Only Erling Haaland has taken more shots in the Premier League. So, Rashford, you know, taking a lot of shots. Nobody is beating him for shots right now other than Haaland. That's pretty good, right? We like him. We're going to keep him. Well, at least I am. And Wissa is another player I'd be looking to keep. A couple of blanks in a row, and some people are giving up on the main man at Brentford, but I would stick with him. Again, a lot of shots for Wissa, 20 shots. I believe that he's just behind Rashford in terms of the leaderboard of most shots taken. Interestingly, 18 shots in the box, which I believe is 2nd or 3rd ranked in the Premier League right now, which is really, really impressive as well. And we've got some great fixtures coming up for Brentford, as we know. So I would be sticking with Wissa. I would be looking to keep him. I wouldn't even move him to Alvarez. I would stick with him for these nice fixtures. I feel like he really could come in clutch in the very near future. And I feel like anyone who owns Wissa, you might be feeling a little bit disappointed now. But things can get better. I think things are going to get better for Wissa once more, as we saw in Game Week 1 and 2, when he really, really did impress, didn't he? And finally, our avoids. Areola, I'm going to throw in first of all. Unless you're on a wild card, no reason to buy him with that Liverpool away fixture. It's a very, very difficult fixture. Liverpool, obviously, a phenomenal attacking team. Not so great defensively necessarily, but a great attack, and they are probably going to score goals against West Ham. And I don't imagine Areola will be able to keep a clean sheet. Fair enough, he might get save points in that game, but I just don't think I would go out of my way to buy Areola in a game week like this. Maybe wait one more week before going in on him, but then even after that, we've got Newcastle and Aston Villa. Unless you're on a wild card, I don't think Areola is a priority buy at all, unless you have a real serious problem in your goalkeeper slot. And Romero is making his return to the avoid section. Arsenal away. It's a terrible, terrible fixture. It really is. We're really expecting Spurs to concede in this game, and I would not be looking to play my Spurs defenders. I would even arguably put Udogie in this avoid section as well, even though Udogie has better attacking threat, and maybe you could get some in against Arsenal. Even like playing as like looking for attacking threat against Arsenal, you know, it's not the best fixture there for Udogie either. So I will probably be looking to bench the likes of Udogie, bench the likes of Romero. So I definitely cannot recommend buying them. So yeah, I would say avoid Spurs defenders, maybe even goalkeepers this week. It's just not a good week to buy them ahead of Arsenal and Liverpool. Maybe after that, when we see the Luton and Fulham fixture, we can have another look at buying some Spurs defenders. But if you've got them already, fair enough. Maybe bench them, maybe play them. But if you don't own them already, I wouldn't be looking to buy them now. I think there's much better value to be had in the Newcastle defence if you're looking for an immediate defensive transfer. So there we go. And the final avoids are going to be Doku. Yeah, I'm throwing in Doku here. Yes, good fixtures. He's had a good start to his Manchester City career, but a little bit of an overperformance here in the first two games with one goal and not too much XG. Only taken 3 shots in those 2 starts that he's had. And I am consistently, as always, worried about rotation. Yes, of course, I'm worried about rotation. Who wouldn't be worried about rotation with Man City? So I feel like Doku could potentially be a bit of a trap player, yeah, with this Man City and Pep Guardiola nonsense that we see every week. We're going to see Grealish back very, very soon. Kovacic is going to kind of impact where different players play on the pitch as well, which could lead to Doku getting rested and rotated here and there. I still think he'll play a decent amount of games, but I'm not confident he'll get enough game time to get any significant FPL points over some of the other options that we do have at our disposal there as well. And with bonus points as well, fair enough, he's got 2, but we know that when Erling Haaland is in the right form, he's going to be like hoovering up those bonus points. So is Alvarez as well. And then you've got likes of Grealish, Foden, Bernardo Silva when he's on one as well. The bonus points can really go anywhere. And Doku is probably going to struggle for points a little bit when you consider bonus point potential and also, you know, the rotation that will inevitably come our way. Yeah, it's just a Pep Guardiola thing. And Awani, I can't possibly recommend him ahead of this Manchester City away game. It is the most difficult game a player can face all season. And fair enough, Awani has been very consistent. And I feel like we should probably have a look at him very soon. But could this be the week his streak ends? It's got to end at some point, right? He's not going to get an FPL return every game week for the rest of his career in the Premier League. Or is he? I don't know. But look, Man City away is a really, really tricky game for him. And even if it does manage to get FPL points, you can imagine that he's not going to get more than 1 return in this game. It's a really, really tough game to have. There's not really a high ceiling on this game. Bonus points are probably going to be hard to come by when he's competing with all of the Man City players. For this week, Awani is going to be a void. But after this week, maybe we can start thinking about him again. So yeah, understand the hype. Definitely a player I'm keeping a keen eye on, but I would wait 1 more week before going for the Nottingham Forest man. So just in summary, guys, yeah, it's an interesting week. Coming off the back of a really, really strange game week, it's very important that we don't panic too much. But there are still some gems that we can pick up in our FPL teams. Also, European football is back this week, so be aware of any potential injuries, rotations, or tactical changes we might see in those European fixtures, and that might impact our FPL decisions a little bit as well. I feel like this is a game week where if you can wait till Wednesday or Thursday, possibly even Friday, to make your transfers, then I would try and do so. Obviously, price changes might make that difficult, but I'm just throwing that out there. You never know, just in case. You've got to be a little bit careful on these things. And that's going to be it for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this one, drop a like. Do subscribe if you are new around here as well. All of the stats from today's video were gathered from the Fantasy Football Hub OptiStats tool. If you want to check out Fantasy Football Hub and all of their magical tools, there's a free trial link down in the description so you can access everything completely for free. Don't forget to check that out. But aside from that, guys, thanks so much for watching. Check out this video if you fancy it. It's probably going to be a good one. So for that, thank you so much for watching once again, and I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.